In the Gospels, Jesus asks his disciples an important question. Who do you say I am? Over 2,000 years later, this question continues to reverberate in the human heart. Some have only given this question a cursory thought. Others have spent years pondering the answer, searching the scriptures, and looking for evidence. This spring, Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry team with researchers and experts who have studied the Shroud of Turin to once again pose Christ's question to you. Who do you say I am?
Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us.
All right, in 3, 2, and 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Sowing Hope. I am Bill Snyder. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our ministry here at Patchwork Heart Ministry. Always want to give a big shout out to our good friends at Fiat Ministry Network for always sharing and streaming our show on their network. Really do appreciate it. Of course, you can always find us at home, though, at patchworkheart.org and patchworkheartradio.org. Visit our websites. You'll find wonderful podcasts and media there, and all of our different media offerings. So we are on this show, though, we're on episode 2 of our parenting series for the Sowing Hope podcast. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Ann DeSantis. Ann, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Bill. Thank you. I'm excited about this series. And we're only on episode 2. It's a 10-part series.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, because what we're going to do is we're going to work through the whole lifetime of being a parent. Now, of course, Bill and I don't have expertise in every single area of parenting, but we're going to discuss what we know and also use some, bring out some resources too for all of you that might help in your parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I, for full disclosure, you're right. My son is going to be 10 months old. So on Saturday. So, I am a very new parent, folks.
But you're in the right place to talk about this one, Bill.
Yeah.
You really are, because now the first episode we talked about pregnancy and infancy,
Right.
really infancy, beginning, like we'll say those very early months of when your baby is born. On this episode, we're going to continue infancy, but we're also going to talk about toddlerhood. And in my definition, that would be anywhere from maybe 6 months old up until maybe about 3-4 years old at the latest. And then next episode, we'll talk about preschoolers.
Yeah.
So for this one, we'll be talking about those areas of babyhood and toddlerhood. So without further ado, Bill, maybe you can start off by sharing a little bit about Elvin and maybe some things that you do with him, because little Elvin is now 9 months old. I believe he'll be 10 months coming up really soon.
Right. Yeah. He'll be 10 months on Saturday. So, he's definitely very mobile, right? That's one of the big things that begins to happen at this age. He is very, very mobile. He's crawling around. He's standing, holding himself up on the couch and on different objects, wanting to pull up, wanting to see. He's very curious and engaged in the world. He loves to play with our cat, or at least smile at the cat. The cat, fortunately, doesn't love to play with him, but he loves when the cat makes an appearance. So it's that age of real curiosity. Finally being able to move and get things and grab things and explore. you go from that, early infancy where you just are laying on your back the whole time or being held by somebody, to finally realizing, oh, I can move around, I can crawl around now. And of course we'll start walking here probably pretty soon. You start getting those teeth. I mean, there's just so many different rapid changes, and it's beautiful. It's exhausting for a parent. Right now he's taking a nap, folks, but about 10 minutes ago I was chasing him around, giving a bottle to him, making sure that he was getting ready to go down for a nap. But yeah, that's the way this is. It's exhausting. There's a definitely a physical demand, and also a mental demand on you, because you are, constantly having to, pay attention. Where is he? What is he doing? And watching him. I mean, it's not just, you can't just go about your day and he's gonna be fine. He can go play by himself. No, that's not how this age works, folks. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been really beautiful for me to watch, even though, Bill and I are in different states, as you are listeners, most of you already know that who listen to this podcast, that I'm in the Philadelphia area, Bill's out in Wisconsin, but virtually I've been able to see online and on social media pictures of Elvin and even a video here or there. And he is just the cutest baby. And watching Bill go from, as he said, the father of an early infancy, right? And how Elvin would take long naps and wasn't mobile, but now how he's grown into that crawling around and pulling up, and it's just an exciting time as a parent, it really is. And for you who are listening to this podcast, and maybe you are also the parent of a baby right now, an infant or a baby, or you have been in the past, or maybe you're a grandparent, or maybe it's your niece or your nephew that you're excited about, and that age. And this podcast is all about faith. It's all about ways that we can help for our children or the young people in our lives to grow in the Catholic faith. Now, Bill talked about on the first part of this podcast about the importance of baptism. I didn't know if, Bill, you wanted to just say anything else about the good words of advice that you had for our listeners about the importance of baptizing their babies.
Oh yeah, I mean, if by this stage you have yet to baptize your baby, certainly go and baptize them, right? They can use the grace. Let me tell you, I'm glad my son is baptized. They can use the grace of their baptism at this age, folks. So if it's been 6 months, you've waited 6 months, 9 months, 10 months to have your baby baptized, now's the time. Again, it's real easy. You can call over to your local parish, and they will connect you with the people that run the baptism classes. If you're a first-time parent, they always ask first-time parents to go through a baptism class, and that was very fun and engaging. We had to do ours on Zoom because of the COVID-19, but that was beautiful. And then you go prepare for the baptism. So I just think, it's super important. And of course, I know we talked a little bit about, praying and whatnot last time as well. So, just if you haven't had them baptized, get them baptized now. It's, you're going to be thankful for that.
Yeah, I agree. And as busy as life can get with having to plan a baptism and sometimes even a party, I think I talked about that on the first podcast, that was the thing that deterred me from doing it even earlier. I baptized both of my daughters around between 3 and 4 months old. But looking back, I probably wouldn't have obsessed about the party, right? And about the invitations and planning at a restaurant, whatever, because we have a somewhat bigger family, especially my husband's side of the family. A lot of people, right? Love to see everybody, love to invite everybody. But doing that baptism is just an important thing to do in babyhood, and and to getting your child started into the Christian family, right? Because that's really what it is. I mean, the removal of the original sin and being baptized in the Holy Spirit and the beginning of your life of faith And so let's talk more, Bill. I don't know if you wanted to share about any ideas that you have, like say what you're doing right now, because this topic is about, infancy through toddlerhood. So I know that you pray with Elvin. Tell us a little bit about what you do with him.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like I talked about last time, but it there's it gets more challenging as he becomes more mobile. It was easy to pray with him before because you'd have him on your lap and be able to just say your prayers or say prayers with him. Now, he wants to get down and go play with his latest toy. And so oftentimes, I kind of incorporate it. Like I just stuck him down for a nap here about 20 minutes ago. And I was able to pray with him during his bottle, right? So like he's winding down to have a little bit of formula bottle before he goes to sleep. And as he's on my lap, I'm able to say a few Hail Marys with him and just kind of, you know, reassure him and everything. And, you know, entrust him to God and to the Blessed Virgin Mary. So, I mean, you're just able to do that throughout the day. Again, it's not a structured thing. I think that it's really important to mention that, like all the different parenting books and advice you receive is about unstructured prayer, unstructured playtime, right? That is like how they learn the best. And so if it's if you're thinking about sitting your toddler down every day at 8 a.m. to have this great prayer time that you're going to be doing the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary, and then you're going to be doing all these you're not going to be able to do that. As a dad and a stay-at-home dad, I'm not able to do that, right? Like I find that very, very challenging at this season in my life. But it doesn't matter though, because if you're able to incorporate the unstructured prayer time, and even if I can't tell you how many times I'll just, make the sign of the cross on his forehead, right? Like I'll just make the sign of the cross over Owen's forehead. As the father, the head of the household, I'm able to just, do that and pray for him in that way. And every once in a while, use a little bit of holy water, whatever. I mean, especially if he's, being a real bugger, you can use a little bit of holy water and, but entrust your kid to God and ask for his protection, right? So I just think that the more we can pray with our kids and show them that it goes throughout the day, it's not just okay at mass time or at this time or at that time. I mean, it's better anyway, because we believe as Catholics that we should be praying unceasingly. And so, pray always. Sometimes use words, but I think that it's really important with your children to just do it in an unstructured way.
I really love everything that you said. And of course, you're bringing me down memory lane because, as a lot of our audience knows already, I'm the mom of older children. In fact, my kids are adults in their mid-20s. And but of course, as a mom, you remember a lot. And I really do feel that I remember a lot even at that age. But I love everything that you said about the unstructured, because playtime can go into prayer time easily, back and forth, right? And like Bill said, it's not a matter of doing that chaplet of Divine Mercy or the Rosary in a structured way with your child, but just teaching them about God. And that's kind of an easy thing to do when you have things like board books, Christian or Catholic board books, where you can show pictures and that's Jesus, that's Mary, that's the Holy Spirit. And just teaching them to be grateful too. I think that's an important thing to teach kids, is to be grateful for their food, be grateful for this day, be grateful for mommy and daddy, be grateful for our relatives and our friends. And that's something that fosters that faith. It really does. I think when you teach that at a young age, just to be grateful for everything that comes our way in a day, because let's face it, kids live in the present moment more than we do as adults. And so for them, they can be more aware of the little things in life that sometimes we overlook, right? Just a beautiful day outside, the flowers that are growing outside, the weather, the sun, I remember my kids really liked shadows. You'd be outside and they would notice, hey, mom, my shadow, and trying to step on their shadow and things like that. It was just such a beautiful time of growth. And I really think that the best way in any age, and we'll probably talk about this on all the parenting podcasts, but the best way to teach faith is for you to live it. And I don't mean that in an obsessive way, as Bill was alluding to, that sometimes we can get a little checkbox about everything that we need to do as Catholics or as Christians to pray, and the different prayers and formulas that we do, which are all beautiful and wonderful. But there is such a thing as adult unstructured prayer, right? And that's also a good way for us to grow, is for us to be unstructured and say, you know what, in this moment, I'm just going to thank God. I'm going to notice the sunshine outside. I'm going to be thankful for my friends, something like Bill and Agnes Snyder, right? I'm going to be grateful for them and for other people that I know in my life that are part of my life. And we teach our kids that too. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So tell us, if you could, Bill, tell us a little bit more about like what Elvin's doing, and has he responded at all in any way to the times that you do try to show him those books or anything to do with the faith?
Yeah, I think he definitely does respond, like, to the prayer. I mean, he knows that we're doing something different, or winding down for nap time, saying little prayers here and there. I like to use a lot of contemporary Christian worship music as well. If I'm in the car driving him around, and it's just me and him, I'll turn on the Christian worship music in the car, and he loves music, but he also loves, I think, the fact that that music is calming, it's uplifting, and he can respond, and just by being calm, and of course the picture books are great. I mean, we have a little book. And you've sent us so many wonderful, beautiful books. Then I read them to him, and he anything that rhymes he loves. He loves the rhyming books, and so many of them rhyme. That we're able to do, like the Jesus Loves Me book, or the the Little Saints, and they have pictures. They rhyme. They're cute, but they teach about how to love. And again, he's just starting with the little words, right? Like dada, mama, and those things. So it's not like he can say, I like this, or that's awesome, or that's cool. Like, he's not able to do that yet, but you can just tell by the smiles on his face. There's another wonderful book for kids that's not really a religious book, but it's called The Pout Fish. And this book is just probably one of those books that parents have. And I'll just say that he knows when there is the change in the story after this grumpy fish, through the first several pages of the book, realizes that he has a different purpose, and that is to not be the pout fish, but the kiss fish. And you can see his face when you flip the page, and it changes from the pout fish to the kiss fish. How he has this gigantic smile every time on that page. And so you can see that, and again, it's very simple. Like, hey, these are core lessons, these are core teachings about just in general faith, and about life, right? Like, we weren't made to be these dour people. We were and pouting all the time. We were meant to be created with joy, and and live our life joyfully, and spread joy to others. And so that is a real thing, that's beautiful to watch him respond to. The other book that he loves, and I love it. It's one of my favorites, and is Dr. Seuss's "Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are?" And Dr. Seuss has so many amazing lessons. We can talk about Horton Hears a Who, as being the quintessential kids pro-life book. But you can also, look at some wonderful books by Dr. Seuss. One of them being "Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are?" Because as Anne, you were alluding to earlier about the gratitude, right? Like just being thankful. And that's exactly where this book is, right? Like it says, be thankful and grateful that you are that you are not like all these silly people. And there's so many wonderful lessons in there, right? That you're, that you don't have to work so hard right now in life, that you don't have to have a boss at work that just constantly is overlooking your shoulder and micromanaging you. I mean, there's all these different very fun little things in there that you have pants on, like what I mean, like be grateful. And so these maybe not are they might not be specifically Catholic, like publishers or books, but it's about how you can teach your kids these lessons of gratitude and of living joyfully, with love and spreading that love. Like that's so important. And even at this age, they do respond. Like his face changes, he smiles, he giggles, when we get to certain points in these books. Even playing with different toys, right? Like playing with different toys and interacting with them, can teach him different lessons. And sharing and all of these things that are so, I mean, it's beyond just the religious aspect of it. It's the core development of virtue in a human being. Of course, we base that in our faith, but just virtuously showing them how to live and modeling that, as you said earlier too, and modeling it yourself, going outside, pointing up to the sky, doing all of these different things that you're doing. It's so important. And if you do it intentionally, I think that's the other big thing, the word intentional, right? Like if you intentionally do this now, like if you get up every morning, you say, I am going to do this. And believe me, I've read these books until I have them memorized. Like I could recite the entire "Did I tell you how lucky you are?" right now. I could do it. I'm not going to, but I could. So I'm reading them every day, and you're like, oh man, I got to read this story one more time, right? I got to tell this story one more time. I got to do this. Absolutely, because you can see the growth and you can see the beauty, that and the creation that God is working with you in revealing in your child. You have certainly collaborated with God in bringing him into the world, but now you got to collaborate with God to bring him up in the faith, or her in the faith. So I'm sure I rambled way too long there, but,
Oh, no, it's valuable. And I want to say this. This is a gem of a podcast series, Bill. I think especially for you right now. And it's something that you and your family, and maybe even a long time from now, maybe even Elvin and your other children that you may have, might look back and say, these were Dad's words of advice during his time when Elvin was a baby. And so I just think it's beautiful, and thank you for sharing. And I think that might be a good book for our listeners to buy. That did I ever tell you how lucky you are?
oh yeah.
So be sure to check that one out if you don't have it already. That you might want to buy that book and check it out on Amazon. And I know, Bill, we probably do have to end pretty soon, but I just wanted to address one or two little aspects of infancy and toddlerhood. And one is something I brought up on the first podcast that was probably my biggest takeaway in teaching my kids about the Catholic faith and about Jesus per se, which was the most important lesson that I feel like I was able to teach them when they were babies and toddlers, was just getting to know Jesus and who he is in your life. And the one thing I would say is that we associated the sky and clouds and heaven was where Jesus is. Now we know that as Catholics, Jesus is in the Eucharist, right? And Jesus is dwells between us in the Holy Spirit, but teaching them too that there was something beyond us here on earth. And I think they really carried that with them, that it was a knowledge of the fact that life doesn't last here forever, but somewhere, someplace that's not, maybe not too far away, but far enough away that it's not here, and that's heaven. And even though we know that heaven isn't up in the clouds, but it was some visual for them to see that that's where Jesus was. And I taught them from a young age to point, and they would say, "Where's Jesus? He's there. He's up there." And so I think that was a cute and also a wonderful way to make it real for them as babies and as toddlers. The other thing is, I can't say enough about, as Bill said, the board books and the reading, because there's so many wonderful books for young children, especially our friends with Perpetual Light Publishing. So check that out. Just Google it and check out all the wonderful books and the authors that they have to educate. And, as Bill said, it's that unstructured too. It doesn't have to be a formalized praying the rosary as a family when they're like a year old, although that can't hurt, right? For them to be there for it and listen to it and pray. But prayer can be at any time and in an unstructured way too. So, Bill, thank you so much for all of your words of advice. I think this was a really good podcast today.
It was fun. Yeah, thank you, Ann. This is always fun, and you learn and discover new things through our conversation, which is amazing. So, thank you so much for doing this with me, and yeah, hopefully, folks, you're gaining some wisdom and learning a little bit as we continue journeying, and quite. I mean, at least I speak for myself, quite cluelessly off into the future. So I enjoy this. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. And everyone stay tuned, because next one's on preschool age. So we'll say from the ages of 3 to 5. So before kindergarten, we'll talk about next podcast.
Awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, from all of us here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, may God bless you. Keep feeding to your Catholic heart and sowing hope in the broken hearts.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or AndySantis2.
In the Gospels, Jesus asks his disciples an important question. Who do you say I am? Over 2,000 years later, this question continues to reverberate in the human heart. Some have only given this question a cursory thought. Others have spent years pondering the answer, searching the scriptures, and looking for evidence. This spring, Fiat Ministry Network and Patchwork Heart Ministry team with researchers and experts who have studied the Shroud of Turin to once again pose Christ's question to you. Who do you say I am?